Hello and welcome to today's Bring It Back show. Today we're going to be talking with some University of Vermont players as well as Coach Jim Cotter about the upcoming club UVM baseball and club softball season. We also have some upcoming events that we'd like to tell you about, like to remind you of. First, we'll be going to some introductions with the players, and on my right is Coach Jim Cotter, coach of the UVM club baseball team, and the advisor, and I'd like to introduce him.
Yeah, thanks, Don. Yeah, happy to be here. I am the coach, one of the coaches, myself and John Luter. We've coached the club team for the last, I've done it for 5 years, and John and I have been together for 3 years. UVM players, students that are full-time students, at least 12 credits. And we play in the fall, pretty much, the New England Club Baseball Association. We have 19 players, 14 were Vermont high school graduates. And we were very competitive, did a lot of good things, played well in the field. These uniforms you see on were bought by the Friends of UVM Baseball, which is a group that's in supporting of UVM baseball and softball. And we actually played in the New England Club Baseball Championship. So it's a great bunch of guys, serious students, truly student athletes, but it was a joy coaching them as it has been the last 5 years. And this spring we do play, we're playing some high school teams in a scrimmage situation around pretty much northwestern Vermont.
Brendan Hackett from Bellows Falls, Vermont. I play on the club baseball team, and I've been playing for 4 years. I'm a senior now, so it's done for me, but hopefully not done for the rest of the kids there.
And Jason?
Yeah, and I'm Jason Maulucci. I'm the speaker of the UVM Student Government Association Senate. And a few months ago, back in October, after seeing Cynic articles and hearing talk around campus about the Bring It Back movement, I reached out to Coach Cotter over here and just wanted to get more information about the Bring It Back movement, and it inspired me to introduce a resolution to the student government, which eventually passed overwhelmingly in support of the efforts to bring back baseball and softball to the varsity level at the University of Vermont.
Thanks a lot, Jason. Thanks, Coach. Upcoming events that are coming on are, a softball and baseball legislative day in Montpelier at the state capitol will be a week from today, March 20th.
March 20th, I'm sorry, March 20th, yep.
And we also have a benefit Calcutta coming up on the 28th of March at Finnegan's down on College Street in Burlington. Might want to mention something about our Calcutta, and Jason be talking about the...
I'll talk a little about the legislative day, March 20th, next Friday. We'll be at the legislature, some players, members of the Friends of UVM Baseball, some softball players. We'll be there. A resolution has been drawn up by the House and hopefully the Senate about this, not necessarily bring it back necessarily, but mostly to support and history and tradition of baseball and softball at the University of Vermont. But looking forward to it. We've got a lot of support from legislators about our group, baseball and softball. So, softball players couldn't be here today because they had some academic requirements this afternoon. But that'll be a pretty big day next day at the legislature, and we really appreciate the support that we've gotten from the legislators about the history, because baseball's been played for 122 years at the University of Vermont. But Jason might talk a little bit about how the resolution from the students at UVM came about.
Hey, but so I'm relatively new to the state of Vermont. I'm from Connecticut, and I'm attending UVM. So I'm a sophomore. This is my second year in the state. And last year, I started to hear some things about the baseball and softball programs and how they weren't at the varsity level at UVM and how they once were back in 2009, relatively recently. And I started to wonder why. And I saw some Cynic articles go up about the efforts to bring it back, because I also saw all over the place on buses and in lawns the Bring It Back signs everywhere, and it got me curious. So I reached out to Coach Cotter to kind of get, like I said before, more information about it all, because I was interested in proposing a resolution to the Student Government Senate in support of the efforts to bring back baseball and softball. And when you do something like that, you have to be well researched on the topic, because you want to present a compelling case to the senators who eventually take action on that legislation. So I met with Coach Carter and Tom Roberts, who's a member of the baseball team, and Maggie Sullivan, who's the captain of the softball team. And we met several times before the resolution was put to the floor. And we even met with Jeff Schulman, who is in the athletic department at UVM, to kind of talk about what we were trying to do. And when we put the bill to the Senate floor, it was an amazing spectacle having so many players from the baseball team and softball team there in uniform with Coach Carter there presenting before the Senate alongside me, just stating the fact that students and members of the community are really behind the bringing back baseball and softball to the university. You see it everywhere, you hear it everywhere, and as the Student Government Association Speaker of the Senate and the student government in general, it's our responsibility to act on behalf of the students and work for the students. So this cause we really felt was a student-oriented issue. Students want to see baseball and softball back. So I put the resolution together, we put it to the floor, and it passed overwhelmingly, 95% people in support of the resolution.
I think you have a copy of it.
Yeah, I do.
Show it up there.
Can read some of the legislation. The first bit of it is a bunch of whereases describing some of the history that Coach Carter kind of mentioned before, that whereas baseball had been played at UVM since 1882, whereas softball had been played since 1979, and some facts about the number of Vermonters that play baseball nationwide, that if they had a program here at UVM at the D1 level, they could draw more students to UVM.
Sure, of course.
And I know people have reached out to those players who have stated that if UVM had a baseball program, it absolutely would have been their first choice. And we end off with, be it resolved that the University of Vermont Student Government Association formally commends and appreciates the hard work and effort that has been made by students, alumni, and members of the community to bring it back, and be it further resolved that the University of Vermont Student Government Association supports the efforts to bring back Division I baseball and softball to UVM, and will assist any interested students, alumni, administration, and community members to achieve this goal. And I thought that was a very powerful message, and it helped really captivate the sentiment and the will in the community. And after all this research, I'm convinced that this is a cause worth fighting for and a fight worth winning.
Thank you very much, Jason.
Again, I do have to compliment Jason for being a bulldog on this and very, very persistent. And I'll ask Brendan, if you don't mind, just, of course, the tuition's been going down at UVM, right, Brendan, since you've been here?
Right, yeah. I wish.
Well, I think one of the things that Jason, or some of the senators put in there, was a concern about tuition.
Yeah. One of the whereases in there, we wanted to stipulate that we support the effort to bring back baseball and softball so long as it doesn't include a tuition increase as a means to pay for it, because we feel, and I know Skip will probably go into this later, there are definitely ways to fund these two programs that don't involve an increase in tuition. The money is probably there given some of these the spending increases to the other sports over the past several years since baseball has been gone, and through private fundraising. There are definitely means of supporting these two programs, which are relatively cheap compared to many of the other sports, and it doesn't have to be on the back of student tuition.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Maybe, Brendan, you could talk a little bit about being the academic part of this, because you've been a very great player for us for 4 years, catcher, leader, assistant captain. Mm-hmm. And tell us a little bit about maybe your background, but also what you're majoring in, and what your interests are in the future.
Well, I grew up in Vermont playing baseball. Just wanted to play when I came to school. I knew UVM was my first choice, and it was really disappointing to come here and see we don't have a Division I team. But club baseball, I mean, it's a close second. I'm still getting to play. Maybe it's in the fall, but I'm still getting to play, 20 games a season, which is great. But yeah, it's been awesome. It's been 4 years. I've met some great guys. I love that there's a lot of Vermont talent, and a lot of Vermont talent has to come here to play club baseball versus playing in a Division I. I mean, I know a few kids when I played in high school went to Division I schools, and that talent could have came to UVM, but instead they had to seek elsewhere. As big as schools as Clemson, and that talent could have come here.
Yeah, that's true.
Those are facts that are just out there. That the 2009 team had several draftees from the University of Vermont team. Also had some Vermont players that were drafted. So that's always been that's been my push anyway. And I know a lot of folks that are involved in baseball, and Coach Carter as well. and a lot of the scouts and so on were upset, very upset, because it kind of, the way they do it is it upsets their system.
It's tough for exposure for Vermont kids. You don't know.
Exactly, and I can't emphasize more the quality of players that come out of the state of Vermont. I've always been amazed, and other people from other areas are as well. And
yeah, Bill Currier was the coach for 22 years here, and when it got eliminated in 2009, and the last year, as Don said, there were 3 players drafted off that team, and there was in his 22 years, he had 28 players sign professional contracts.
Great.
18 of them were drafted in the Major League Baseball system. So there's talent here. We're not a big state, we know that, but there are talented players. There are 9 now playing Division I college baseball around the country, and as Brendan mentioned, Clemson, Siena, South Dakota State, Hartford, a lot of quality kids out there playing baseball. It could have played here.
People from Vermont, kids that have grown up through the system and played Vermont baseball their whole lives, deserve to have the opportunity to wear Vermont across their chest and play at the Division I level for their home state.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things that's been on my mind over the years. And my son, our own kids have played and done quite well. And I don't buy into the fact that the theory that because we're in a cold climate, nobody plays baseball. It's ridiculous.
It's played at St. Mike's. It's played across the
played in Linden State. It's played 2,000 feet up. Yeah. One of the first high school teams that open up this year, guaranteed at home, will be Danville. 2,000 feet above sea level.
Yeah.
I rest my case. Moving along, we also, I don't know, you have copies of the report that was done on UVM athletics.
I do.
And it's, maybe you can explain that.
Excuse me. Yeah, well, we are a group, the Friends of UVM Baseball, which has about 15 members that's met every month for 52 consecutive months, and we've done a lot of things. Put a historic site marker down on Riverside Avenue. We've supported the club team. We bought these uniforms. We gave great recognition to the 1893 UVM team, which I happen to have a picture of. This is a picture of the 1893 team that played in the College World Series, in the first College World Series out in Chicago, Illinois. We gave great respect to them back on April 30th in 2010. So we have this Friends, and we tried for about a month to get some statistics and some facts from the University of Vermont about the finances and the cost of running sports and the increase in the budget. And there's some staggering figures, we think. For example, the budget's gone up almost over $3 million since baseball was dropped. It's gone from about 15 million to about 18 million. The athletic administration has more than double in the salaries for the athletic administrators. There's 8 athletic directors at the University of Vermont, either assistant ADs or one head AD. The increase in the cost of sports was pretty staggering. Some sports went up almost 100% since baseball and softball were dropped. And baseball was one of the cheapest sports when it was dropped in 2009. So the argument was used that it had to be a financial thing, and it might have been back in 2009, but certainly the economy has increased, stock market's up, inflation is down, or not down, but it's not certainly stabilized. And so the finance, the economics of it don't make any sense right now. And a lot of Vermonters, as we've said many times here already, have been very successful at the University of Vermont. It's always been between 25 and 50% of the teams were Vermonters. And 14 out of our 19 teams on the club team this year were Vermonters, and we were very competitive. Even from Bellows Falls.
Thanks, Skip. I appreciate it.
Another thing was that in 2009, when the athletic director laid out his plan to the student government, I believe it was voted. The student government voted unanimously to oppose the plan. That's a big thing as well. Another thing that I was thinking about is student spirit, and this came up when with a lot of the Cynic stories that they were doing. They've done an excellent job of support, I might add, for this movement. And one of it was student spirit, school spirit, and they felt that baseball could be, there needs to be something like a jog in the school spirit. That's what the feeling was, and I've got that. We have a clip that the Cynic did at our invitational last fall at the invitational with Johnson State and St. Mike's and the Burlington Black Sox were there. It
was actually Linden State.
Linden State, yeah, that's right. Boy, what a big team that was.
They had 34, 35 guys.
Wow.
They just went. They just went to They just went to Florida. I know some of the guys on that team went to Florida and they are playing. They probably won't play a little bit at home for a while, but they'll play in end of March, 1st of April.
Yeah, they're a D3 school, and they've got quite a program up there, along with Castleton College. Yep. If we can run that tape of the Cynic story, it's about 3 minutes. I don't know if we're keyed up or not, but give me a sign and say we're keyed up.
If they're keying it up, I'll say one thing. One thing about, people say, well, how about facilities? But actually, University of Vermont Centennial Field is one of the most spectacular college fields in New England right now, with Ray Pecor putting in a lot of his own money, and it's an incredible baseball facility.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of money that was put in.
Are you aware that there used to be a baseball and softball team at UVM?
No, I had no idea.
Well, I knew there used to be, but I had never heard of anyone really talking about it.
Absolutely no idea.
You had no idea the thing?
No idea. I knew we didn't have a football team, and I had no idea about the baseball or softball team.
I know I'd seen the field a couple times and always thought that was like a weird relic from the past or something.
Do you think they should be brought back?
Honestly, yeah.
And I played here, graduated in '91. And, my hopes were that, hope that someday my sons would play here too.
Baseball deserves to be back at UVM, and hopefully that happens within, maybe not while I'm here. I mean, I'm a senior, but hopefully within the next few years.
So what kind of changes financially would have to happen for the program to return?
Well, I don't think there'd be much. It was to run both programs would be less than $1 million.
I think it's difficult just because the club baseball team is involved because it directly affects them.
Right.
And I think there's more of a push to bring back baseball because there's more of a push to join the baseball team. Even when you look at the club funding, baseball gets significantly more money than we do. They get to play at Centennial Field. They have a coach. Their budget is 3 to 4 times ours because I know what our budget looks like and I know what theirs, and it's not comparable. So I think that there's more of a push for the baseball team just because they have the backing from the community and from their team. Mm-hmm. We don't have that backing from the community. We barely get the backing from the UVM community. So
Get out of my shot, Jamie. My bad.
I think
This is pretty abstract, but what does baseball mean to you?
Baseball, it's one of the few loves of my life. I've played this game since 4 years old. Once I came to UVM, that was probably one of the first things that I looked forward to is joining the baseball team and seeing how I could be a part of the baseball team.
There's just an awful lot of history here. There's a lot of people who have played Major League Baseball. There's been a lot of fan interest over the years. It's a great family outing, and gives people the opportunity, players the opportunity to play professional ball, to do whatever they want to do.
Yes, that was a video done by the UVM Cynic. The interesting thing about the Cynic is there's not a journalism course at the university that I know of, and yet they do one whale of a good job in a lot of areas. They've had a lot of material on us over the last few years, and also I think this particular video was very professional the way it was put out.
Yeah.
I also want to add, we were talking about Ray Pecor and the amount of money that he put in. There was an arrangement made between the university, the interim president of the university, and Ray Pecor, a lease agreement. And this is what moved the situation forward. In 2009, a lot of things happened. You know, UVM, they dropped the baseball program, but that was a problem with the field as far as Major League Baseball was concerned. And it had to be brought up to standards. And the money wasn't that big a deal to bring it up to standard. But the way Ray went to town on it, it brought it up to standard and then some. It improved the seating and the experience that people have when they go to the ballpark. And I just wanted to mention Ray because he did a great job. He's done it for a long time.
I've said often that if there's a baseball heaven, Vermont's Ray Pecor would be first in line. He put over $2 million of his own. Kyle Bostic from the Lake Monsters has been very supportive. We practiced there this year. We played all our home games this year. They're very supportive. Maybe Brendan, you could talk just a little bit about your experiences on the club team in 4 years. And
I mean, it's been great. We've had a great team. Every year we've made playoffs. This year, especially, we made it all the way to the finals. Came up just a bit short. But we've never had a team that I don't think could have been competitive at the college level, which is great. And this is just all club kids who just love baseball, want to come out and just play catch. And we have a good team. We have a great group of guys. So it's definitely been fun. I'm going to miss it.
Yeah, you've been a big part of it for the last 4 years, that's for sure. But I will say, there's so much tradition. I showed you the picture of the 1893 team, but I have here the ball that was actually found in the trash by some people. This is the 1914 ball that was used between the United States Military Academy, West Point, and the University of Vermont. And Vermont won 8-3. It was black. Obviously, it wasn't black during the game, but the colors of the West Point are black and gold, and so that's why it was painted black and gold. But there's so much tradition and history at this field. Back to when Ralph LaPointe was the coach, and all the way up through Bill Courier, and continues. And somebody said, "Gee, where's softball going to play?" Because there is no softball field anymore. That was bulldozed down for the track. But where the old football field, for old timers would know, or where more recently UVM played soccer, which is right adjacent to the baseball field, the softball field could fit in there quite easily. I've talked to many people that know more about it than I do. That you could put a softball field in there, and it's got parking, it's got facilities, it's got restrooms, and so you could have both the baseball and softball pretty much in the same area.
And originally, the athletic department had a plan to build a new softball field that was obviously scrapped when they cut the program.
Yeah. Well, that's another part. That was I remember that. And lately, we've been talking more about the use of the area where the football field was, which is the soccer field. And it's not really utilized all that much now. The thing is that the place is so historic, and you know, we say Easton Allen Bird in center field. Well, you know,
deep center field.
Yeah, deep center field. 600 feet away, but he is there, and so it's that's in closing. That's the key. All this historic business, but Ethan Allen still patrolling center field. I mean, I get a kick out of it, right?
Well, Ken Griffey Jr. was there for a year, and then Ethan Allen must have preceded him. Huh?
Yeah. In the big game against Rutland, he, you know.
But I have such passion, I'd say, for these guys that have played on the club team the last 5 years, and how interested they are, and for seniors like Brendan, it's he's going to move on as a mechanical engineering major and out there making money and doing some great things with some projects. But there's some freshmen. We had 8 freshmen on the team this year, and hopefully they might be part of the Division I program. And I know softball plays. They play in the spring. They play. They played 16 players on their team, and really, they want to play too. They want to play at a Division I level.
Yeah, everybody wants to do that. And we, we've had some great ball players that have come through here. We've had some great professional baseball players that have come through here, many, with the Reds, with the Mariners, with the Expo, National, Oakland now. Yep. And this is important for them, soul-wise, as well as the thousands of people that have played, whether they're from a Babe Ruth program or a Legion program, or something of that nature. And so that's why I feel extremely passionate about the players. And my kids have played on the field. I've come to find out my father played on that field in 1926 from some guys that were really old. I mean, yeah, they're not with us now, but I mean, anyway, there's a passion there.
There really is.
Deep-rooted. And it's the history of the state of Vermont. Think about Field of Dreams. Think about all these other movies, the tear-jerkers kind of. But that's the way it is. That's the way I feel about it anyway. I know true. Coach does.
Oh, absolutely. I played on there as a high school junior. In a state championship game from Windsor, Vermont. We got to be 3-2, but it was just a great experience for me. And I coached there for 6 years and had a great experience. Our son played there. But I'd be curious about Jason. Where do you see this going now? We have the resolution. I know you've met. Why don't you talk a little bit about what you and some other students have done since the resolution?
Yeah, so myself and Maggie Sullivan from the softball team, and Chris Bernard and Tom Roberts from the baseball team met with Dr. Corin, the athletic director, to kind of explain what we're trying to do here. And we didn't really get that much back from the athletic director. We didn't expect much back. So we're going to keep up the pressure. We're trying to meet with Vice President Gustafson and then eventually President Sullivan. And obviously we've got some good things going on at the legislature. So, I mean, we're not going away. Just, how many times in history have people been said no to, but you got to keep fighting. You got to keep working at it. Keep the fire burning. We're not going to just fade away into the sunset because it really is a cause worth fighting for.
The point there is if you can't hit the curveball, you're not going to make it. Okay? Right?
I have such fondness for these folks, Jason and certainly Brendan as a player for 4 years. But see what Jason's done, and you're gonna get some roadblocks. But if you think about what is right,
that's right.
What is right? A sport that's been played there for 122 years, and softball the kids have a passion for it. And America East, I know, would welcome us back in to that league, and it's just what Jason and the SGA has done. I have great admiration for them, and I'm really glad to see they're going to stick with it and just keep going up the ladder until somebody says, "Gee, let's really take a look at this," because it doesn't make any sense financially. It doesn't make any sense facilities, and it doesn't make any sense for the state of Vermont, in my opinion.
Well, the facilities have all been upgraded to a point
where
it's
wonderful.
It's a great field.
Yeah.
The outfield needs work, but we all know that.
That's not baseball's fault,
no,
though.
You're right. This is a card that Coach Carter sent around last New Year's about to bring it back, and the idea of it being a just cause, and it's right, and it's a good cause, and it'll continue in 2015, and that's close to me.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Jim.
You're welcome.
Thanks for everything you've done to really make this a kind of situation. Thank you guys for the work, the tremendous amount of work that you've done, and the students. And we had somebody by the name of Frank Chaffee that was at one of our meetings about a year ago. He was a trustee with UVM. He was also a trustee, or not a trustee, but on the student government back in '74 when they dropped the program before, or in the '70s. Yeah. And he worked to get it back. And he said, one of the things you have to do is to reach out to the student government. And that's what we did.
Yeah. Just one last thing I'll say is this has been done before. It was done back in the '70s when baseball was dropped. It came back. There's precedent for this. In these times, there's no reason for it not to be looked at really carefully.
And what we should do is even when it does come back, keep an organization going that's going to be between students and the community and everything else to really remember the spirit of baseball in the state of Vermont.
Yeah, and the history of it.
Yeah, the history and the spirit, the soul, and you know.
When it comes back, Don, you're going to throw out the first pitch. But you're going to put on a different hat. And Brendan is a catcher. Brendan's going to catch it.
That works. We'll do that.
Oh boy, that's the arm that came off.
Throw that drop, that gravity drop pitch.
So I feel a lot of good vibes, you know, and we're going to close on that and just let everybody think about it and think about what we are about. And that's the state of Vermont. That's what we're about.
Thanks for having us, Don.
Yes, thank you.
Jim. Thank you guys, too.
Yep.
And thanks a lot for you.